am 104 years old, and the single most misunderstood thing in all of human health is not disease. It is energy. People think energy is something you either have or you don't. They think it fades with age the way hair color fades, inevitably, permanently, without negotiation. But that is not biology. That is ignorance dressed up as wisdom. Energy is a biological process, and biological processes can be supported, sustained, and in many cases, restored, if you understand what is actually happening inside your cells. Most people have never been taught what energy actually is at the cellular level. They think of it as a feeling. They wake up and they feel tired, or they feel awake. But that feeling is the end result of millions of chemical reactions happening in structures so small they cannot be seen with the naked eye. Your mitochondria, the organelles inside nearly every cell in your body, are converting nutrients and oxygen into a molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the actual currency of energy in the human body. Every movement you make, every thought you have, every heartbeat costs ATP. And when your mitochondria are healthy, abundant, and efficient, you feel what people describe as vitality. When they are damaged, depleted, or struggling, you feel exhausted no matter how much you sleep. This is where it starts. Not with willpower, not with caffeine, not with pushing through. It starts with the mitochondria. And here is what most people miss. The number of mitochondria you have is not fixed. You can grow more of them. You can improve the efficiency of the ones you have. The scientific term is mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria. And certain natural compounds activate the pathways that trigger this process with remarkable precision. The first of those compounds is ashwagandha, not the trendy stress supplement version that most people know from social media. The real, deep pharmacological story of ashwagandha goes far beyond stress relief. Ashwagandha, with Ania somnifera, is a root that has been used in Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years. But what modern biochemistry has revealed about this plant is extraordinary. The active compounds, called relieds, act on a pathway in the body called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This is the command center of your stress response system. And here's the key. Chronic activation of this axis is one of the primary causes of mitochondrial damage. When you're chronically stressed, and most people are whether they know it or not, your body floods itself with cortisol. In the short term, cortisol is useful. It mobilizes energy in a crisis. But over time, chronically elevated cortisol disrupts mitochondrial function, impairs the production of ATP, damages the mitochondrial membrane, and accelerates cellular aging. This is why people who are chronically stressed feel perpetually drained. Their energy production machinery is literally being corroded from the inside. Ashwagandha does something extraordinary. It acts as an adaptogen, a compound that helps the body regulate its own stress response rather than simply suppressing it or artificially stimulating it. Clinical studies have shown that consistent use of high-quality ashwagandha extract can reduce serum cortisol levels by up to 30%. But it goes deeper than that. Ashwagandha has been shown to increase the activity of an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, one of the body's most powerful internal antioxidants. This enzyme specifically protects mitochondria from oxidative damage. It is, in the most direct biochemical sense, a guardian of your cellular energy machinery. But there's another layer that almost no one talks about. Ashwagandha has been shown in peer-reviewed research to increase testosterone levels, not just in men but in both sexes, and to improve thyroid hormone output, particularly T4 to T3 conversion. Thyroid hormones are the metabolic governors of every cell. They set the pace at which mitochondria work. When thyroid function is sluggish, energy production slows systemically. When thyroid function is optimized, mitochondria run cleaner, faster, and more efficiently. So ashwagandha is not just calming your stress response, it is recalibrating the entire endocrine environment in which your mitochondria operate. That is the real power. The second compound is coenzyme Q10, CoQ10, and the depth of understanding most people have about this molecule is so shallow it is almost a disservice to mention it casually. CoQ10 is not a supplement in the conventional sense. It is a compound your body synthesizes on its own and absolutely requires for cellular respiration. It sits at a critical juncture in the mitochondrial electron transport chain, specifically at complexes 1, 2, and 3, where it acts as an electron carrier, shuttling energy between protein complexes and enabling the final production of ATP. Without adequate CoQ10, this electron transport chain slows. It becomes inefficient. It leaks electrons, generating what are called reactive oxygen species, free radicals, that then damage the very mitochondria trying to produce energy. It is a self-defeating cycle that accelerates aging at the cellular level. Here's what most people do not know. Your body's natural production of CoQ10 peaks in your 20s and declines steadily thereafter. By the time most people reach their 40s, their CoQ10 synthesis has dropped by nearly half. By their 60s and 70s, it can be a fraction of youthful levels. This is not a coincidence that parallels the onset of fatigue, cognitive fog, cardiovascular decline, and muscle weakness in aging populations. It is a mechanism. And here is what makes it even more critical. Statin drugs, among the most widely prescribed medications in the world, actively block the same biochemical pathway the body uses to synthesize CoQ10. Millions of people are on statins and experiencing profound fatigue as a direct biochemical consequence, without ever being told why. But it goes even deeper than that. CoQ10 exists in two forms, ubiquinone and ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the reduced active form, the form that actually participates in the electron transport chain. In younger bodies, the conversion from ubiquinone to ubiquinol is efficient, but as we age, this conversion becomes increasingly impaired. This means that many people supplementing with standard CoQ10 in the ubiquinone form are not fully benefiting because their aging cells cannot effectively convert it to the active form. The practical implication is profound. Ubiquinol supplementation, particularly for anyone over 50, delivers the active form directly to the cell, bypassing the conversion step entirely. Research using ubiquinol has shown significant improvements in mitochondrial efficiency, cardiac output, exercise tolerance, and cognitive performance in aging populations. Not because it is a stimulant, but because it is restoring the actual machinery of cellular energy production. The third compound is the one that, in my experience, the fewest people truly understand. It is nicotinamide riboside, a precursor to a molecule called NAD+, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. The science around NAD+ is arguably the most important breakthrough in longevity research of the last 2 decades, and yet the majority of people have never heard of it. NAD+ is a coenzyme found in every single living cell in the human body. It participates in over 500 enzymatic reactions. It is essential for cellular respiration, including the final steps of ATP production in the mitochondria, but its role extends far beyond energy metabolism. NAD+ activates a family of proteins called sirtuins, often referred to as longevity proteins. Sirtuins regulate DNA repair, gene expression, inflammation, and the very process of cellular senescence, the biological mechanism by which cells age and stop functioning properly. When NAD+ levels are high, sirtuins are active, DNA is being repaired efficiently, inflammatory signaling is modulated, and cellular aging is slowed. When NAD+ levels are low, sirtuins become dormant, DNA damage accumulates, inflammation increases, and the body ages faster at the cellular level. And here's the critical fact: NAD+ levels decline by approximately 50% between the age of 40 and 60. By the time most people reach their 70s, NAD+ levels may be as little as a quarter of what they were in youth. This collapse in NAD+ is now understood by researchers to be not just a consequence of aging, but a driver of aging. It is one of the root causes of the mitochondrial dysfunction that leads to fatigue, cognitive decline, metabolic slowdown, and reduced physical resilience. The body is not just getting older, it is running out of the fuel that keeps its repair systems running. Nicotinamide riboside works because it is one of the most efficient precursors to NAD+ available. Once it enters the cell, it is rapidly converted through a 2-step enzymatic process into NAD+. Clinical trials have demonstrated that oral supplementation with nicotinamide riboside can increase blood NAD+ levels by 40 to 60% within weeks. And the downstream effects of this increase are measurable: improved mitochondrial function, enhanced muscle metabolism, better cognitive clarity, reduced markers of inflammation, and in animal studies, significant extensions of healthy lifespan. The human data is catching up rapidly, and the direction is unambiguous. But here's what connects all 3 of these compounds at a level most people never reach. Ashwagandha, CoQ10, and nicotinamide riboside are not working on separate problems. They're addressing the same fundamental biological reality from 3 different angles. Ashwagandha is reducing the cortisol-driven oxidative assault on your mitochondria and optimizing the hormonal environment in which they function. CoQ10 is restoring the electron transport efficiency of the mitochondria themselves, allowing ATP production to proceed cleanly and without the generation of damaging free radicals. And nicotinamide riboside is replenishing the NAD+ that powers the entire cellular repair and energy regulation system, activating the sirtuins that govern how well your cells age. Together, they address the mitochondria at the level of hormonal environment, mechanical efficiency, and genetic regulation. This is not taking 3 random supplements. This is a coherent biological strategy aimed at the root of what energy actually is. The practical application matters enormously. Ashwagandha is most effective taken consistently, not sporadically. The adaptogenic effect builds over time, studies showing the greatest cortisol reduction use 8 to 12 weeks of daily supplementation. High-quality KSM-66 or sensoryl extracts standardized to within a light content are what the research is built on. For CoQ10, the form matters as much as the dose. Ubiquinol is the priority for anyone past their mid-40s, and taking it with a fat-containing meal significantly increases absorption because it is a fat-soluble compound. For nicotinamide riboside, consistency and dose matter. Most clinical trials use between 250 and 500 milligrams per day, and the combination with pterostilbene, a compound found in blueberries that further activates sirtuins, appears to amplify the effect. None of this is magic. None of this is a shortcut. What it is biology. It is understanding that the body has mechanisms for energy production that are subject to support, and that these mechanisms decline with age, not because aging is inevitable at the cellular level, but because the inputs those mechanisms require become progressively depleted. Replenish the inputs, protect the machinery, reduce the assault. And what you often find at any age is that the body responds with an energy that most people have been taught to believe is permanently gone. That belief, that fatigue and depletion are simply the price of getting older, is the most expensive belief you can hold, because it makes you passive in the face of something that is, to a remarkable degree, addressable. The cells do not know how old you are. They know what they have to work with. Give them what they need, and they will do what they were designed to do. There's one more layer worth understanding, and it is perhaps the most important of all. These three compounds do not simply add energy on top of a broken system. That would be like pouring premium fuel into an engine with a cracked block. What they do, when used correctly and consistently, is restore the conditions under which the body's own intelligence can operate. The human body has self-repair systems of breathtaking sophistication. Autophagy, the cellular cleaning process that removes damaged proteins and organelles. Mitophagy, the specific process by which damaged mitochondria are cleared and replaced with new, healthy ones. DNA repair enzymes that scan the genome and correct errors before they propagate. Epigenetic regulators that determine which genes are expressed and which are silenced. All of these systems run on energy. All of them require NAD+. All of them are undermined by chronic cortisol. All of them are impaired when the mitochondrial electron transport chain is inefficient and leaking free radicals. This means that when you support these three foundational compounds, when you lower the cortisol burden, restore CoQ10-mediated electron transport efficiency, and replenish NAD+, you are not just feeling better. You are reactivating the body's own maintenance and repair infrastructure. The results are not confined to subjective energy. They extend to cellular health, cognitive clarity, metabolic resilience, cardiovascular function, and the rate at which your body ages at a biological level. This is why the framing of natural supplements as something soft or ancillary, as something you take alongside real medicine, is so deeply misguided. These compounds are not decorative. They are not wellness trends. They're biological inputs to fundamental cellular processes. Their absence has consequences. Their presence has effects that can be measured in blood panels, in mitochondrial output, in inflammatory markers, in telomere length studies. The science is not perfect. No science ever is. But the direction and the magnitude of the evidence are impossible to dismiss for anyone who reads the primary literature honestly. The question I most often asked is whether it is too late, whether at a certain age the biology is simply too far gone to respond. And the answer, based on everything that research has revealed in the last 30 years, is almost always no. Mitochondria retain plasticity at advanced stages. NAD+ levels respond to precursor supplementation even in elderly populations. The cortisol axis remains modulatable. The sirtuin system remains activatable. The body's capacity to respond to the right inputs does not disappear with age. It diminishes, yes, but it does not disappear. And even partial restoration of these systems, even a 30 or 40% improvement in mitochondrial efficiency, can translate into a quality of daily life that most people have stopped believing is available to them. Begin with understanding. Understand that your fatigue has a cause. Understand that the cause is biochemical and specific. Understand that biochemical causes respond to biochemical solutions. Then act with consistency, because the biology does not care about your intentions. It only responds to what you actually do, repeatedly, over time. The compounds work. The mechanisms are real. The human body, at any age, is still capable of remarkable things when it is given what it needs to do them.